All right, recording in progress. Here we go. Well, it's so great to have you here, Dr. Brett. Dr. Hill, what do people call you?
I'm pretty easygoing. You can call me Dr. Hill, Dr. Brett, whatever I respond. Don't take
You
it too
know,
serious.
I had a professor who got his PhD. He was a summer school professor of mine in my grad school, in my grad program, and he got his PhD like he defended like while we were in our summer session. And so we were all like, "We're gonna call you Dr. Starnino." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, please don't." We were like, "Well, this is such a big deal. What are you talking about?" So we landed on Dr. Vince.
Nice.
Because I can
Yep. Yep.
appreciate like I don't know, formalities and whatnot, but also like the hard work that goes into being able to acquire some of those letters behind your name. All of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's appreciated, but I don't want to also, I'm pretty real with people. I see people the way I am a lot of times and just as a real person and not trying to put myself above anyone else. And so
Very
I'm
much
okay with
that.
that.
Very much that. I think it's nice too. And I imagine, especially in a position like you in chiropractic, like the white coat syndrome of it all sometimes, of like,
Hmm.
I'm afraid to ask or da da da. So I think the more relatable that you can be, the more comfortable people feel asking what they think are stupid questions, which we know there are no stupid questions, but we know people show up to our offices, or in my case, Zoom office, thinking that they've got stupid questions.
100%. And you know what? I'm the same. I go to certain situations and I think, I don't want to ask that, but I should,
Yes.
but maybe I'm an idiot. I'm just
Yes.
like that too in certain situations. So I get it. I get it.
I do the same thing. I'll write something. I'll write down like a couple of things to bring up to my primary provider or something and be like, well, I don't want to take their time. I'll just
Yeah.
ask the two and not the three. Like we all do
Right.
it, team. It's not just y'all. It's not non healthcare professionals. The healthcare professionals are out here doing it too.
Yep, exactly.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, I usually when I have people on like to ask them how they got into their chosen field and the passion that has them where they are in it today.
Hey, that's a great question. I'd love to share that. And I thank you for asking that, having me on, and for your listeners in listening to this because I'm excited about it. I'm passionate about it, and I hopefully they can get something from it too. But
Yeah.
you know, growing up, I was always into sports and athletics and this and that. I was taking undergrad in a science degree, kinesiology and bachelor of science, and thought I was going to go to med school. Was kind of my original plan. My mom had a lot of health issues growing up, and I thought I'm going to fix these. I'm going to just solve all these problems. And I realized I don't want to just go and prescribe a different drug for this and then another drug for that
Yes.
because there are a lot of chronic issues and a lot of chronic things. Um, and I got introduced to chiropractic a little bit in how it's more than just for a back problem and how it really helps the nervous system, helps the body heal, helps it reach its full potential. And that kind of resonated with me on, I get it when, how do we help it heal properly? So drew me into chiropractic school. Going there, I thought, okay, this is great. I'm going to learn whatever the best technique is. And I got there and I was a little shocked. I was a little surprised of like, oh, there's a lot of different things out there for chiropractic techniques. It's not just all one thing. And so it kind of made me think and look a little deeper. And so got me into chiropractic neurology a little bit more. And that made more sense in how the brain works, how it adapts to everything we do, and how the adjustments and other things we do really impact that nervous system and brain. And so going into, graduating and starting a practice, I decided, well, I want to help people the best way possible. And I've always wanted to do things the best that I could. And so I thought, rather than join a practice, I'm going to start my own because I think I can help people better, get better results in a faster amount of time because that's what I would want. And that's what I want to give to my family. And so I did. I started with nothing, no patients in a small room that I rented and slowly grew and slowly grew. And fast forward to where I am today now in our clinic and helping lots of patients. And we have massage and other chiro and things. But more importantly, it drew me into, okay, how do I take this further now? We've been helping patients, and I saw where we would do specific things and targeting like headaches and migraines and different things there, and concussions and vertigo, and we get awesome results. But I found a very repetitive theme where those that do what we give them get better. And so I thought,
Hold on, can we
how
just
do
take a moment for that? I mean, let's be
yeah,
very clear. If it were easy, we'd all already be doing it. But like,
yep.
who would have thought those who do the things that help us get better consistently see some improvement?
It's amazing, eh? And you know what? It
Shocking.
wasn't, it's not even like everybody gets that. But when I realized, I'm like, how do I get people to do these things? So everyone wants like we're ingrained. We're kind of trained to think, oh, I have pain. Okay, what's the medication that I can take to help with this? How do I
Mm-hmm.
help feel better?
Hmm.
And I was like, well, how do we get to the root of the problem? How do we and do we solve this long term so they're not reliant on always coming in for an adjustment or on whatever it is that they're taking or a brace or whatever? And really, it boiled down to is trying to simplify it for people. I'm like, this all comes down to posture in a sense of how it's breaking down, how that foundational support system. A lot of the people we see with tension, headache, stress, or other things, they're working on a computer or a device a lot of the time, and the body just adapts to that. And I mean, so much of our world today is technology, and whether we're sitting or even standing, I mean, I see the kids walking to school. There's a high school nearby, and half of them are looking down while they're walking. And so, yeah, exactly.
I so
It's
bad. I feel like such a progressive commercial or whatever it is of like you can't stop you from turning into your parents, and I just be like, look up, look, put
yes.
your phone down.
It
Ah,
is crazy. And you know what? And then I'll catch myself doing it at home and I'm like, you know what? No, I've got to like it's easy
yeah,
because oh,
it's
it's
so
another
easy
message or
to.
another email or oh, I got to do that. And it's just always there. And
Well,
so
it's that I like my kids, my now 4 and almost 6-year-old, which moment for that. Oh, anyway, they
that's
know
awesome.
the
Good for you.
expression tech neck because I'll
Mhm.
catch them sometimes doing certain things. And it's interesting too because I'm aware of it. You and I talked, I'm sure it'll come up, but we talked about how like I had seen my chiropractor starting in November and had all of these scans done and I could see what, and so I'm trying to be intentional, but like even the times where I think I'm being intentional and not having tech neck, I can still, and then I'm like, I think I'm still doing it though. Am I still doing it? So then I'm like, yeah, trying to overcorrect. But even when we're
100%,
trying to be
yes.
aware of it, sometimes it's just such a natural place for us to be, which is so bad for us.
Yeah, and you say it as it's a natural place for us to be. You're right on the money. I call it neuroplasticity. It's just the brain adapting to whatever we are telling it to do, whatever stimulus that we're giving it. It's going to adapt to that, and it's really hard to be aware and to correct. Is this where it should be when we've already compensated and we're already built in these other patterns? So
Yes.
so that's what we found. We're like, okay, all these people are finding this similar things. How do we get them to, how do we simplify it for them so they can get, why is this eye exercise important for their back? Why is this balance thing going to help them hold that long term when they just want to get out of pain, but we want to keep them out
Hmm.
of pain. And so that's where we developed this posture program to where we are today. And now we're doing it online to guide people through and help them get better. So it's pretty cool.
That is such a great thing, and I love that it's. And I'll have the link. Link is in show notes. We'll reference it again throughout the. I'm sure I'll mention it again at the end, but the link is in the show notes toward your program. And talking about too, it's such an interesting thing, and I hold so much space. I'm coming with no judgment. How me include, like we have this one thing, and we think, what's the one thing? Like, what is the magic pill? And of course, in mental health, we know no such thing exists. But my back hurts, give me this one exercise and this pill, or my back hurts, give me the
Yes.
what. But what you're talking about, even like the balance piece of it, and we talk too in like focus with ADHD or variable attention stimulus trait, like how improved balance has shown it can improve your cerebellum and how that interacts. And so really thinking of the body as a whole system instead of just like my back hurts of being out and you all being able to walk through like yes if you do like you said this eye activity and focus and the like it can be frustrating. I tell all of my new clients, like, I understand that it feels like I'm going to ask you to do some new things and it might feel kind of tedious. But once you start practicing those things and they start feeling more normal or more second nature, then you can really start to see some of those improvements. And in your case, like you're talking about, less back pain, less tension, headaches, all of those things. But, you know, all of the environments within your one body.
Exactly. And it's very interesting. I mean, as you work with, I know a lot of those ADD, ADHD, neurodivergence type of clients. And that really relates a lot to just there's a variance for everybody in a sense of dealing with different things on how that nervous system is regulating and working in our brain. And I go back, I talk a lot with patients on like, well, this is important for your brain. And I always catch myself, I'm like, really, do they care about what their brain is doing when they're like, oh, my neck's sore, I can't turn or whatever it is. And because it's really about its ability to take in stimulus, regulate that, and then output it, and in all different forms. And so it relates to like anxiety and depression. We kind of touched on that a little bit, I think, but just the impacts there with our physical and that mental emotional state as well, how it's so closely tied. I mean, we can tell when someone is having a bad day, they hold it in their posture, the way that we feel inside, we show it on the outside. So we always think, oh, we better fix the way we're perceiving that. But what if we fix that physical aspect of how are we holding that body? Because that, and I almost went into too much nerdy stuff on the neurology about why it activates
People
our
who
frontal
listen to
lobe
the
and
show
things.
like the big words. I have had people literally be like, you said this at 17 minutes and 2 seconds and I didn't understand it. Can you, like, people will call me out if it's not too, no one's ever said it's too much, but they have been like, wait, you didn't describe that. What is that? So go ahead, go
Perfect.
ahead, go ahead,
I
nerd
love
out.
it. Well, a big thing, one of the things when we're not sleeping, we're
Mm.
we're standing or sitting or we have gravity acting on us. Every time we have gravity acting on us, we are using that posture system, whether it be good or bad. And so when we load these joints, and the majority of that loading is through our spine, there's lots of joint receptors in there that feed our frontal lobe. And so if we want to go back and see a little bit more of this, I'm going to go down rabbit holes, so just stop me if I do. But when
No,
we are developmentally growing and learning and our nervous system's developing, one of the first things they always tell new moms, and that's important for kids, is they need to have tummy time. That's important for their development, even when they're quite young, because it helps start develop that cervical curve, their neck lifting, and it's a reflex called the righting reflex. They want to see the horizon, want to look at a level world, and that deals with our ear canals and our eyes, and that signals down through our spinal pathways that help us develop that. And as we start to lift that head, and then they get the core strength to go on their knees and crawl, there's a lot with the cross crawling for the brain development. But these are all things that start before we get a lot of the fine motor control and the speech control and all that. Because once we're upright against gravity, now our frontal lobe, this higher center learning area, is really firing huge amounts because we're constantly working on that balance system, working on that motor system of controlling that spine, just holding us upright. It's quite complex, and yet it becomes automated. We don't ever think about it. We think about, oh, I'm going to pick up this bag, but I don't think about what my spine's doing or how I'm going to hold myself upright when I do that.
sure.
So it's really, really important for that brain development and coordination. And so that processing order and that postural tone is really important. And then as we keep developing, if we sit for too long or we're not loading the spine against gravity, we're not challenging that balance system, kids playing and walking on balance beams and things just in the playground, things like that is really important actually for our brain development and for using that system where we need that control to make sure our frontal lobe's working well, which helps us with bigger big picture type of decision making, understanding, oh, I don't need to freak out about this because in the long term, that's not really a big problem. And being able to process some of these things, posture and how we move our body is actually really impactful for that.
Hmm. I wanted to go back to what you said earlier in bolstering this conversation and forward of like when you're describing things to client or your patients and then wondering like, do they even care about the mental health component or the da 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 ba ba ba. And I want to say I am such a reference queen, and I usually pride myself on being like, wow, in episode 17 of Matlock season 2, but I am struggling to come up with a specific actual like show or movie or whatever it's from. But you see that colloquially in entertainment of like, I don't need you to tell me what's going on, doc. Just give me the pill. Or like, I don't need you to tell me the
Mhm.
where and the why. Just tell me what to do. Like, da da da. And I do hold space that some patients have that, and I can always, of course, appreciate the feeling of urgency that people have when they're in pain and so on. It is a disservice, or I want to say it the other way, like such a service that you provide to people, even though some of them might tune out or kind of glaze over a little bit when you talk about cerebellum and prefrontal cortex and all of that but saying like I need to say to you the importance of all of this. It is not just your upper shoulder having this thing. It's because of this other thing and it's related to that. And you notice that when you're feeling really anxious that you tense up and that's getting worse. And you said that when you're feeling depressed that you slump your shoulders and da, da, da. Like it's the same as I've said this so many times in the show, and so, but it bears repeating of like when I talk to my dietitian, I can't not tell her what's going on with my mental health and my mood and my sleep. Like if I'm exhausted because I didn't sleep well the night before, I'm much less likely to spend some time making myself a protein-rich, fresh breakfast. I'm probably grabbing a Pop-Tart. Or when during
Yep.
the school year, I'm eating whatever, which I'm also doing that whatever mood I'm eating my children's leftover, like half of a bagel and then half a bowl of
Yeah.
cereal. Um, and certainly my mood. I mean, I have a binge eating disorder, so that's a special thing, a specific thing to me, but and many out there. But if I'm in a certain kind of mood, I can't have a conversation with my dietitian and what I am eating and consuming and how I'm fueling my body without talking about all of the different systems within myself. And so the same for this of I told you when we met last week of like I went because I have some bursitis in my shoulder and I went and got a massage, and this person was like, "Oh, great. So I'm just going to get up in your armpit." And I was like, "What?" And I could feel
Yeah.
it in like I could feel the attachment, and that's obviously body system and body system, but even that piece of education of like, yeah, if you're doing this certain thing and this is connected back here, and then again, even furthering that into like your cerebellum and your anxiety and also that lower pain back pain and all of that. It's good for us to be able to express these things because people don't know those all are interconnected.
Oh, well, and you're 100% right. And that goes back into like the thing I found when I thought of going to medical school. Now, keep in mind, I actually have medical doctor friends, and I think it's amazing. When you get a
Yes.
broken bone here, and the things they can do is incredible.
Hmm.
They're
Yeah.
amazing. But a lot of the systems out there that we get ingrained to think is healthy is really more reactive to health. And so, like with my mom, it would be something where, oh, here's your migraine pills. They're pretty strong. Oh, and now because you've been on this steroid for a while for autoimmune disease. Now you have a heart murmur. So we're going to send you to the heart person, and here's your heart medication. And it's just like, wait a second, all these systems are actually all integrated together. Our nervous system, our blood system, neurovascular system, all of that, muscular, mental, all of those tie in together. They're all related. It's really integrated. The gut brain connection, I mean, with diet and with our mental health and with our physical health, like it's all really closely tied.
Hmm.
And it's tough. I get it. There's so much stress and time constraints and this and that. It's really hard to live a perfect, healthy life for sure.
Oh gosh, yes.
Everybody struggles with that. And so everybody's going to have different things. I mean, and it's great. I love how you're open and you mentioned, an eating disorder. Like everybody has stuff, and
Mm.
sometimes we try to hide it so much, but it really we don't need to, because we need to work together and get help in all these areas. And that's where, with the posture aspect, we're helping in one of those areas to make it simple, where people, it can be hard to eat healthy. It can be hard to exercise all this and do all these things.
If it were
It's one of
easy,
the
we'd all already be
components.
doing it.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we try to make this in a way that is simple. It is not, I tell patients like, look, you don't have to plan an hour or a half hour in your day to go and sweat and work out. This is something we try to, posture is something you use all the time. So we want you to pay attention to these little activities, do them different times in your day. break up your sitting and do one exercise then or whenever. So it becomes almost an automatic change that is being, again, neuroplastic or becoming adapted with your nervous system and sensing how your body's moving. And that affects that also that mental mood. When we're fatigued, you mentioned when tired and how that affects eating and things. Well, it really affects our ability to be upright and have that energy. You
Hmm.
know,
For sure.
doing professional speaking, they say, well, have your super pose or whatever, super posture to because you feel confident, you feel like I can do this. And well, we should have that all the time. It makes us feel confident in who we are and our abilities, and that posture really changes how we see ourselves or feel about ourselves too. So
That's a really good point too. Just again from the confidence piece, the intention piece, like everyone think about that for a moment. Like don't actually put your shoulders down or do, it's up to you. It's like hunch over and like look down at the ground and whether or not whatever mood you were in, that does naturally just kind of put us down. And whereas if you're standing upright and your shoulders are back with intention and your neck is up and your focus is forward, that doesn't magic. But wouldn't it be nice if that was the thing that cured depression? It's not, but like
yeah,
but that's what I was talking about. I've talked about this so much with clients. What are the small things that we can add? Because a lot of people like, I want to stop eating junk or I want to stop this and I want to, and it's like, yes, and what if we can think of the small things that we can add in? Because it's sometimes, a lot of the time, easier to add in 5 minutes of stretching, 10 more grams of protein, like versus no more sugar. I'm cutting out sugar.
100%. Yeah.
No, what if you just added 10 grams of protein to your diet? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's just start there, and then we'll see as you are fueling your body with more protein, maybe you're craving less sugar because you're not feeling as hungry and da 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 da, but it's not this restrictive mindset of shutting it down. And so I just sorry for the tangent on that, but I think it really all does
And
come
that's so
back to
true
like the
though.
power pose of it all of this is me, what I do when I'm standing up to speak in front of a room of, 90, 500 people, whatever, to just how am I showing up for myself daily in my job or in what I'm doing? And it's also with
100%.
that power pose. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And people will see it like and it feels good, when someone that loses 100 pounds,
Mm,
people see that difference, but that didn't happen right then. It takes time. And so
right.
that power pose can happen. Yeah, we can hold that or pretend that that's who we are all the time. But what if we actually created that to become who we are all the time by doing little things all the time? And that's what it's all about is adapting ourselves to feel and be aware of that. And that's kind of the first step in the program is the awareness
Mm,
piece. When we aren't even aware that where it is or how we've adapted, we can't really fix it if we're not aware of an eating disorder or that I have anxiety or whatever. We can't actually correct that or do anything
hmm.
about it because we don't even know it's there. And so that's the first step with posture is we say get an assessment, like get checked as to where that is. And that's something we do kind of with our analysis. And I mentioned to you we'd love to do it with you to see. That'd be cool. But you
Yes.
just submit that through the app and it's secure through that. And then we analyze it and go over on a video call what your results look like. But just seeing it, we see all the time patients will they'll come in and had one where they're like, yeah, I thought I had okay posture, but looking at that, they're like, it's like, holy cow, I have a lot of work. I didn't realize it was that far off. And they're
Yes.
like, man, that makes a lot of sense too. When I'm tilting, like I actually, and they don't tell me this because they're complaining about one thing, but yeah, my hip actually, I noticed this. I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, it shows up. So we see that in the way your body has been compensating due to past injury or just sitting or whatever it might be.
Hmm.
But over years, these things show up in the way that our body appears and the way it moves.
Hmm.
Posture is not just static in the way we see. We do video as well, and you can do a video of your squat or a lunge, and we analyze those too as part of the assessment. But looking at all those things, and we test balance and things like that because it's really important to see the dynamics of it. But that's the first place to start so that you can get a mindset of, oh, that's where I'm at. I didn't realize I needed to pull this or change there. Then you can have that awareness. You can think about it more and make a change.
Hmm. It's so important. The self-awareness piece, that is such a therapy thing as well, of like the first place to know is the first place to start is to know what's going on and what those behaviors are and what those thought patterns and processes are and who you're around and what are some of the triggers and all of those things. And it's the same here of, and it's like I just want to take everyone as I'm walking down, like, hey, when was the last time you like have you had your neck like x-rayed, or have you had like a, because my girlfriend was also taking a Pilates instructor training, and probably I don't know how long before I went to the chiropractor and got the actual x-rays, she had asked me to just take a picture of me standing forward, standing sideways, standing backward. And she like put just a red line. She's like, this is a straight
Yeah.
line, and babe, this is where your head is. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
It
I
can be
don't
as simple
know
as
that.
that.
I don't know that until I have
100%.
someone put a big bright red line on it. And it's like, oh
Yeah. Yeah.
my gosh.
It's crazy. And a lot of times, like, I'll have patients with migraines and headaches that we're treating, and they have a head tilt. That's a big thing we were analyzing because of some other things. But they'll be like, oh, I didn't realize that. I'm like, how long have you been having these headaches? They're like, oh, since I was a teenager. I'm like, go back into old pictures and look. And they're like, you know what? I notice every picture I'm tilting my head. I tilt my head all the time. And I think I'm straight, but yeah, they don't even realize. And it's been there for
Yeah.
years and
And
years
that's
and
it,
years.
right? I think I'm doing, oh, I'm sitting up. Oh, I don't have tech neck.
Yeah.
I da 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 da.
Yeah.
And we don't know because we don't know. And then
Hmm.
we do end up with some of these issues. And I mean, we don't always get that lucky, especially in mental health. We don't always have this like one-to-one correlation of like, oh, around 2:30, I'm always in a bad mood. Oh, well, it's because I need to eat some almonds and a cheese stick, and now magically I've got some protein in my body and I feel better. Yay, we've done it. Like,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
always that
That'd be
one-to-one
awesome.
correlation, but genuinely looking at some of those things and being aware of it can be so helpful. And you mentioned
Hmm.
earlier too, sorry, I like selfishly, my mom and my mother-in-law both have vertigo. And
Mm.
I think that's such an interesting thing that I hadn't even thought about as well, of like how chiropractic can service that as well.
Yeah. I mean, again, it goes back into that postural system's really coordinating our vision system. So it's
Hmm.
using our eyes to see where we're at. It's using the ear canals to balance our head and
Mm.
position that correctly. And then it uses our spinal alignment and joints and muscles to give feedback as to where we are. Mainly through the neck is most of those receptors. And so if we turn our head, we don't fall over because the ear canals, the eyes, and the neck all coordinate to be like, okay, this is where we should be. So those are some things where just being aware of some of the postural things, and then there can be a lot more to it. Obviously, getting that assessed by a professional is a great idea, where looking at the joints of the neck can really impact the dizziness or vertigo, or it can be something in the ear canal or in the vision. But if someone has a head tilt, they're activating those ear canals differently, and it can be causing an imbalance, and then it can cause one side of the muscles to tighten up to try to balance things out, and so then we get weakness in eye muscles because you're overfiring one and the other, and it really goes into this whole pathway and pattern where, again, I love how it's all integrated because the body's amazing versus just going and being like, okay, someone that just works on the ear, nose and throat, like vestibular canals and stuff. But if they're
I mean,
missing the visual and the spinal aspects there, we're only going to get part of the way. And so those are some, yeah, some really important things.
yes. Yes, most definitely. So I was curious, like, what are some thoughts? Speaking of, I'm back with the kids. So like I said, my kids are 4 and almost 6, and it's like we don't let them have iPads unless we're in the car for a certain long time. But I found, or a friend of ours found this, like it's a Velcro thing, and this, so the iPad is attached to the back of the seat because I was so worried about them sitting in a car driving down to Florida like this for however many hours. And so that makes
Yeah.
me feel better about that. Or like,
Yep.
what can we do to like educate our young ones? What can we do when we've got teens who have like they would never, like they wouldn't want to do that, or certainly that when they're walking down the street with the phone, like do we encourage them to walk like this, or certainly maybe just walk down the street, not on your phone?
Yeah.
But like, what are the things that you find that are helpful in working with like kids, teens, and the like the parenting support behind that? Because unsurprising to you, I'm sure probably not a lot of teenagers are listening to the show, but their parents are.
100%. Yes. And you know what? I love that you bring this up. This is huge. In fact, I do talks just specifically on this. There's just a lot to it, um, with ideas and things. So we could talk forever on this because there's a lot. I have
Mhm.
4 kids myself. They're a bit older. He just turned 17 2 days ago, and then I have 14 and two 12-year-olds.
Let's see, 2 days ago.
Um,
Wow. So he's like cuspy Cancer Gemini season. Okay. All right. I get it.
yeah,
Sorry. I'm
yeah.
new into that and learning it. And I'm like, oh, I know when that is.
Nice. Awesome. But yeah, they would probably tell you they've had a hard youth upbringing because we didn't give them phones very early, and it's not that we haven't allowed electronics, but the way we try to help them use it in a healthy way is a very important thing. And something where they may feel like, well, my friends all have this or can do that as much time as they want, whereas we regulate some of it, but we also try to work with them. And I think the biggest thing is rather than say, okay, doesn't matter the age, whether they be 4, whether they be 13 or 14, working with them, talking with them. And kids are smart. Kids care about who they are, they care about others, they care about their health. So I think the starting point on there where I teach parents and I um, talk on this is to first focus on education, just teaching them about why this is detrimental for our health and how it impacts the nervous system in a way that um, we get immediate input from YouTube or from social media or things where it's kind of this instant gratification and it's just easy to be locked in. And the algorithms are designed to keep you on there as long
Yes,
as
they
they
are.
can. And studies have shown that teenagers and youth, young adults, they actually don't feel better after getting a notification and going onto it and being on there for more than 30 minutes. They find they don't feel any better about themselves. They actually a lot of times feel worse, but they still go back onto it and they still stay onto these things.
Sure.
And it's really just because they're designed to become or induce that addictive kind of nature with the dopamine and other releases.
Yes.
And so helping them understand, okay, what's actually going on in our physical body, in our brain, and in our transmitters. Why is it? And I think relating it to yourself too. I'll say, look, I'm not perfect either. When I go on these things, it's addictive. I'll go on and I'll realize, wow, I've been on this for 30 minutes, an hour, and time's flown by. So understanding that you're in the same deal with the same things or feel the same things that they're going to feel, that it's not just you controlling. So I think really being relatable with them, helping them understand the health effects is a really important starting place. And then working on, this is something we love and care about you with, and that's why we want to talk about how can we make this healthy for you, and work on finding a good balance together. And I say that because people are starting in different spots. There's some youth or kids where we've seen where they're literally on a computer as soon as they get home from school, all day on the weekends, all the time. So to say, hey, you should only be on, an hour or whatever regulated time, that's not going to be healthy or helpful. So I say work where you're at, find something that you feel is healthy. And here's some guidelines. There's guidelines to follow, but here's some tools to work with. Now, um, yeah, like I said, there's a lot there. A lot of the time, just some simple things that we do is if they've been playing, we enjoy when they play together, but say they die in a game and say they're playing Fortnite, I'll be like, okay, you got to do 10 push-ups now in between. It gets their body moving. It gets them, and they're like, okay, and they're like, I can get through these because then I got to play the next game with my buddy or whatever. But it gets them moving, gets them active. And right now they don't fight me on it because they know, okay, well then we're just going to be done or whatever. They understand too. Okay, I got to move. It's healthy. I've been sitting a while. Yeah, I got to recharge, do something. And so um, as we work with them and help them understand that, it makes it a lot easier. Um, hopefully I don't know how much you want to go into it. I can go a lot more, but that's kind of
Well, I mean, you don't have to give
where
away
I'd
all your
start.
trade secrets, but I just think it's such an important thing because it's like we've got you and I talked last week when we met too about like supporting kids through athletics and everything of that as well. And so the technology
Mm.
piece certainly is so important. And it is something where it's like I not just because she talks about how much protein I'm supposed to be eating these days too, but also which is an obsession of mine now, trying to figure out the heck I'm supposed to do with that. We'll talk to my dietitian next week. But Amy Poehler talks about like when you mature through the parenting process with your kids and where you go from, of course, she's in film and TV, so going from producer to consultant and where that navigate or that transition is and how we can set those boundaries and provide the education, not just because I said you can't be on your tablet, but here's
Exactly.
the thing that's not helpful for your dopamine responses and your attention span and your tech neck and all of that because of that, and trying to set them up for success so that as they mature and we get into more and more into the producer role, or excuse me, the consultant role and less of the producer, to be in that we're setting them up for that success and taking that into sports. Like I know here in the US, you have to have a sport or a physical before you can participate in like our upper grades sport activities, and that's helpful, but that's like the base. The least we can do, right? And so I was curious there as well, like what your encouragements are for sports mom. What are your thoughts on how to help navigate that and be the consultant, but also the producer because they don't know what they don't know, but also kids are gonna kids.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's tough navigating everything because again, they find information instantly and they see, oh, they're doing this. Maybe I can do that too. YouTube or Instagram or whatever, that's just instantly like right there information. I think with, and with sports and with being active and all those things, movement is healthy. Movement is great, but there's a difference in the way over the last 10 years or so how sports is interesting and how it's progressed. It's starting younger and younger in each sport where you have to almost specialize in order to make it to high school or beyond, where we're losing some of the neuroplasticity in other effects of different sports, combining into the athleticism in my mind of the whole. And what I mean by that is these repetitive strain injuries when we're only training one specific sport, say baseball or um, something else. But that's a good example where training at a young age, becoming super competitive to be like, here's my end goal. Well, the body doesn't get the adaptability and other aspects of sport, game, or just free play
Mhm.
that are really, really important to be able to see situations become adaptable in that or use muscles in a different way. So it's not repetitively always, while the nervous system's adapting to get really good in that way, it's also can be breaking down in some aspects where it's more prone for an injury or other things there. So for us, I was really big on, I love football. So I played basketball and football and track and volleyball growing up, any sport I could in our town. Um, and then with my kids, I was really hesitant on letting them play football. And I love football, but I'm like, there's so many, the risk for injury is a lot higher. Concussions, there are things there I'd seen in practice people having these long-term effects where I'm like, there's a lot more beyond just your junior high and high school years that I want you to enjoy and be able to experience and do. And so we were really hesitant, especially in those younger years, because you get some that are matured early and some that are really small still. And yeah, I mean, any sport you can get an injury, but we just found from me and treating patients that the injuries are just bigger in some of those high impact sports. Now, so my first three boys didn't play football, but my last one loved it so much. He begged, and I was like, "Sure, let's play." And they've improved a lot in a lot of the things with concussions and other things. And I love watching it. I help coach it. Um, it's been great, but I'm still nervous or hesitant that, you get a major injury and now you can't enjoy all the other things of sport, and then you're stuck behind the gaming system and a lot of other effects that happen with it. Um, So there's lots of benefits sports with team sports, individual sports. There's so many mental aspects that can be healthy with it too. That can be beneficial in learning to work as a team on things. So there's a lot of good things. It's just a matter of finding a good balance. I think we get too high performance thought too early and force them into certain things, and then yeah, knowing where's that balance of pushing them versus what their body can handle, and injury risk.
That's
So
that's such an interesting thing to the idea. I feel like I came from this more, idyllic, I can't talk. Great time to be on a podcast. Place of, county sports, and everyone was on the county soccer team, or you could be on the pickup baseball, but it does feel these days that it's like, great, so when are you joining the comp team and the travel team and the da da da? And it's like,
yes,
oh, like seven is when we start travel sports. And it's like, oh my, like, not just like I am the biggest consumer of the Olympics. I hold myself to that. So thank you to all of the athletes out there who are doing this. And that is, of course, generally when it starts. Simone Biles being an anomaly of starting at 6 is, ancient for gymnastics. And so I hold
yeah.
space for all of that. And if you do want to be the next Simone Biles, that you have to do all that stuff. But it is just a lot. And so young on these tiny bodies, and the mental impact, and I think sports are so important, the team aspect, being coached by other people, all of those things. So it's yes and yes and yes and yes and yes, but yeah, it is a lot very young. And I'm kind of sad for the days where it was just like, yeah, I kick around on the county youth soccer team.
Yeah, yeah. And you go and you play with your friends, and it becomes a social interaction.
Yeah,
But now it becomes they have this competitive nature of like, well, I have to. When it becomes
right,
I have to
right,
because this and that versus, yeah, I want to do that. That'll be fun. I think that's where we lose a
yes.
lot of the importance because as long as there's a space, if those kids at age 4 and 5, they are loving that and that's what they want, perfect. As long as there's a space when they get to a point where it's like, you know what? I really want to try this and be competitive in that. If there's a space for them to do that, great.
Mhm.
As long as it's not, well, I have to because of
Right.
something else other than what they want, then I think we've lost sight of what it's about.
Yeah. And that is such a good point too, that wanting to versus having to, and being in that mindset of that as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. Kids and sports, definitely. My kids right now are really into the movie The Sandlot. And it's like, oh, that would
Oh,
never happen now. There would just never, like, everyone's out on their teams and it's organized and it's this and it's this uniform and they need
hmm.
this ball glove and the sliding mitt and the this and the da 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 da. And it's like, that's, I guess, kind of what I was referencing too, of like, not that that's a real thing, but I imagine stuff like that. That is how people used to hang out. You just kind of gathered the kids in the
Yeah.
neighborhood and got to play and enjoy. Whereas it has to be on a team and it has to be in so many situations. And I hope that our kids are able to kind of find the joy in the neighborhood pickup game as well as if they want to do the competitive.
You're right. That's one of my favorite movies. I love it.
I mean,
We
yeah,
quote it in our house all the time. But you're
yes,
right. I mean, when kids want to get together, oh, well, I'll just call so and so. He's on the PlayStation right now. Can I play with him? Which is good. They're interacting. So there's good things there too, but there's differences as well in having um, to go and knock on their door, see if they can play. You have to have that social, get over that fear of talking to a parent or an adult to see if your friend's home. You have to
totally.
move your body and go and actually be active and get all that stress or other things out. While there's good things, gaming that may connect to people where maybe you couldn't elsewhere, you get to have opportunity to have failure and then succeed again without being crushed or different things.
Hmm.
There's pluses and minuses, but I think understanding the balance and like you said, it's awesome when kids can just be like, hey, we're doing this. Let's all get together and play. And
Yeah.
just having that free play is really important as well.
that's an interesting thing now that you've mentioned that too, of like gaming is actually a marketable income making potential way of spending your time. That could be, I feel like, a whole other episode of like, how do we protect children where, because I grew up on the Sega Genesis. So please don't let, and my parents literally still have it. It still works, which is like with
Oh, sweet.
30 years some on later. My 5-year-old playing Paperboy just blows my mind, and I love it.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's I mean, that is talk about like a potential for hazard of like tech neck and sitting and sitting and sitting and how and all of that. And so finding the ways of like allowing the kids to play some of these games and whether or not the point of it is to make money later or to be competitive or to just enjoy throwing some papers at a house and dodging, beatboxing, whatever people, that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a lot of like, I like what you said earlier, that kids want to know to an extent, like what their bodies are doing and what they need, and to be able to provide them that education, or certainly to set them up with professionals such as yourself so that they have access to that is a really great place to start.
Well, and it is, and there's a lot to that. There's so much. I think it's not an all or nothing. I mean,
Mm.
I grew up, with normal Nintendo, like Contra or Super Spike Volleyball. Those things were a blast. But when I think about how those games were designed versus today, um, the producers of these games are not dumb. They're pretty smart. In fact, like Fortnite, they made it. They paid I believe they paid a lot to be like, how do we make this addictive for people? Like, how do we make this so they won't want to leave? It's a bit different, and in navigating that is even tougher now. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's a lot of fun. It can be, and it should be a lot of fun. It's just a matter of how do we understand how to be in control? How is that affecting our physical and mental health with it, and having those balances? And I think again, it's not just being like, well, you can't play that or you need to get off now. It's understanding, hey, you know what, that's a pretty cool game, but these are designed to keep you on there. How long have we been on? I think,
Mm.
for us, we actually track that so that the kids would say, I've hardly been on. Okay, well, we'll track it. So it automatically will track it for them, and it's not us, but it's helpful. They're like, okay, yeah, I've used that time, no problem. That's my time for today, and
Mhm.
they have no problem with that because before they would have no concept of that time aspect. So recently we got a PlayStation 5, which my kids were in shock because we had the Wii. Because I'm like, well, it gets you moving. You can play the Wii for the longest time. I was, yeah, crazy that way. But
No,
we
sure.
got them PlayStation 5. They love it. It's great. And I'm like, wow, these graphics are incredible. Like, it's amazing. Um, but you can have time limits on there because they would be like, I've been on maybe an hour today. It's like, well, that's okay to think that, but it's hard to be aware. It's really hard to pay attention to that. And so when we're like, hey, what's a good amount of time that I feel this would be all right? Um, are you okay with that? Not asking them if they're okay, but helping them understand, look, this is quite a bit of time if you think you're in school and then have some downtime. And, why don't we schedule this amount of time? And then when that's done, it'll just turn off or you'll have that warning to get off. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. So it's helps them learn and understand, okay, my time's up. I've been on that much time. They realize, okay, now I need to do something else. And it's working with them to be healthy
Mhm.
and to have good tools. And they're getting better with technology now in coming out with um, parental controls or ways that we can help the kids or even us as adults be aware of our time on our phones or on gaming devices so that we can fill it with a good mix of different things.
Most definitely. So again, that communication piece, the articulating, like not just making rules for the sake of making rules, but because I want to be able to help set you up for as much success as possible in the future and how important that is. That's so great.
Yeah, and there's things where you can have it end at a certain time so that they're not playing late and overstimulating the brain with there's a lot with these games are made to be excitatory, to be gripping and intense. And like I said, the graphics and how it puts you in the story so you feel like you're there and you're participating. And it's pretty awesome. But the problem is, our cortisol goes, our stress response is going because we're
Mhm.
excited. We think we're doing all this. And so our body is adapting to this perceived excitatory stimuli
Oh my gosh, yes.
visually, but our bodies are physically not moving. So we have
Yes.
increased blood pressure, heart rate, we're shallower breathing, we're ready, it's intense, what's around the corner? I got to pass this level, but yet we're not moving. So then this sits in our bloodstream for a long time. It's hard for us to calm down our brains, or if they're in that intense game and then a parent comes in and says, okay, it's time for bed, you got to get off now. How many kids are like, oh, perfect. Thanks for letting me know. I'm going to go right now, brush my teeth, and be perfect. They
Yes.
usually overreact because they're in a stress response. They're already in that heightened state just physiologically, and
Right.
we expect them to reason really well.
Okay, I've
Um,
literally never, like, I have thought about the, like, our central nervous system being heightened and all of that, of course, but like just that, then that next connection piece of like, great, okay, everyone hang off. And it's like they were just shooting somebody in the face or running away from being shot in the face. And we want them to just be like,
exactly.
yes, mother, of course. Oh my gosh, let me just go brush my teeth real quick. Thanks. Like, duh.
Exactly.
But that's not something that we think of, and we don't think of it. So we're not meeting them with empathy, and they don't understand it. So they're just heightened and angry and whatever that is, but they don't really understand
Mhm.
what that is. Like,
I
sorry, like,
know.
yeah, I knew this, but like I've never like thought of it this way. Yes.
Yeah. And then it goes back into, I mentioned the postural stuff with that frontal lobe. When that frontal lobe isn't firing because we're in a stress response, we can't reason. We're
Right.
focused, hyper focused on
Right.
that specific intense thing. And so we're not listening to whatever is going on or this or that, or we heard, okay, it's time to get off 5 minutes ago. That's out the window because we're hyper
No.
focused on this.
Yes.
But yet our physical body hasn't moved. So we aren't getting rid of that stress. We aren't getting rid of it. Like we aren't using those muscles that are ready to fight or flight type of scenario. And we're expected to respond appropriately. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult to reason and to, all of a sudden fall asleep, do those kinds of things where it's going to take a while to calm that down because we're not going for a run right after
Yeah.
if it's time to get ready for bed, things like that, where
That
we
would
can
be
get rid of
very
that
cool though,
energy.
then to think about like if you have game time, then we go for a 5 minute walk. If you
Mhm.
have like just something that helps you to regulate, again, I'm not saying don't want to play video games. My spouse plays Call of Duty, so talk about shooting people in the face, right? Like fine, but then if
Yeah.
you are a younger person, or even if you're an older person and your prefrontal cortex is fully developed and you're able to like understand the difference, like I was, but like he's still elevated sometimes out there. I can tell, like he wants to win and he's
Mhm.
like stressed, but that get up and go for a walk, that kind of okay, like I'm
100%.
safe, I'm here, I'm present, and bringing it back to that is very important for anybody of
Yeah.
any age. That could be a good thing for you and your kids to discuss. Like if you're going to play, then we go for a 5 minute walk before bed, or
Yeah.
make that make sense for wherever you're, what works for your space.
And I think it's important to like, there's lots with it. One of the things I love is it's time to actually play with the kids. Like, I try to get involved and be like, hey, let's do this together. So
Yeah.
we have an Oculus as well. So I like that because it's something where you are using your body, your posture system's firing while you're actively playing and moving. So it's integrating coordination, balance, control, which gets a little thrown off because of the whole virtual reality aspect of it and where you are. But um, I like it in that aspect that you have to physically move and be active. And so I enjoy playing these games as well with my kids and sometimes by myself too. But again, it's helping them understand, okay, we're going to do this. Okay, let's play some ping pong or let's go play catch outside or let's go do something else now. To recognize we're using different aspects of the body. We're being healthy in other ways too.
Mhm.
Um, and it's being able to regulate, find those balances, and it can be a challenge. We're busy, and it's hard to always be checking on, okay, what are they doing now, or this or that. So there's no perfect answer to it all, but recognizing, hey, these are some things we can use for good, and how do we use them for good, and working
Right.
with them and teaching the kids, being with them, present on that, and my kids know how important posture is because I talk about it, but I also I'm like, okay, let's Everybody stand up or move, or when you're playing that game, okay, I need you to lift your head up a little bit. Just being more
Yes.
intentional with it versus sitting there slouched over and they're like, oh yeah.
Yes.
I laugh
Most
because my
definitely.
my
Yeah.
friend, my son's good friend, always comes over and he's always nervous about his posture because he hears me tell my son to, okay, lift your chest up, lift your head up. And so he sits there really good. It's awesome. I love it.
Like, right, Dr. Hill, I'm ready. We're good. Like,
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, that's funny. Yeah. And I was thinking about that too. And I promise I'll let you go after this, but I was thinking about that too of like, I bet your children experience and express some similar things to mine, like having somebody who is aware of posture or like those certain things in the physical aspects, whereas my kids are like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, okay, well,
100%.
your mom's a therapist, so let me know how
Yeah.
that works out for you. Like, of course, you don't want to talk about it now, but eventually I'd love to come back around and discuss. Like,
Yes,
um,
exactly.
there's like an
Exactly.
occupational hazard of having a mom who's a therapist. It's like,
Yeah, well, it's just like a chiropractor.
same,
For dad, it's always focused on their posture
same,
and their
same.
spine.
Well, I just appreciate this conversation so, so, so much. It's going to be in the show notes as well, but I just love to have people say it off the top of the head as well. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate being on here. The best place would be yourpostureprogram.com. Now, if they want to get that assessment, so like I said, being that aware of where we are initially, if they want a free assessment to go over that, it's yourpostureprogram.com/podcast. And I believe I'll share that link with you, but I believe that that should take them to where they can sign up to get that assessment.
Yes. And
And
I'm definitely going to have mine done. Maybe I'll have to do like a special, like, well, maybe one of my mini episodes, I'll talk about my experience and
there you go. That'd be
yeah, and
perfect.
that
And
because I really definitely I'm always trying to like I've got my little posture pillow here and I sleep just a certain way and I suck at it and I stress about it, but I also am working because perfection's not real, but progress is all of that. So
exactly.
yeah, that could be fun for me to
Well,
get to kind of share my experiences with everybody as
that
well.
that would be great. And if there's one thing that people can take away, if your
Mm,
listeners and yourself,
mm,
because when you say, "Oh, I got to fix my posture," if you try to do it on your own, you're going to compensate. Nobody knows what it feels like because we don't connect our brain. It's an unconscious
yeah,
control.
yeah,
So, if you need to strengthen your bicep, you can go and do bicep curls. That's easy. We know what that should feel like. But when we go to fix our posture, it's like, oh, sit up straight. But most people pull their shoulders, they lean back. They're actually not using their posture system. They're using big muscles. So if there's one thing you can do, one thing to take away, just because the body follows the head, it's the first thing we work on in our exercises is head positioning. So most people will pull with their shoulders. So try to disassociate the head from the shoulders. So lift your head tall and slightly come back with your
mhm.
chin so that your eye and ears and eye are in a straight line. You're not tilted up looking down your nose or something.
Oh, that's
But
very helpful.
yeah, so if you just pull up and then back a bit, you'll feel the spine lengthen, but you're not
Yes.
pulling and leaning with your shoulders. You're
Yes.
trying to keep everything else relaxed because it should be easy. Posture should be easy because we have to hold it all day. So
Mhm,
don't
mhm.
overwork it or else in 10 seconds you're going to be slouched again because you're tired because you're using the big muscles. And that's the hardest thing with posture is using
Yeah.
the unconscious muscles. Most people don't know how to do that. So
Right. Absolutely. That's a really interesting thing. Just even the tilt of the eyes and the with the eyes and the ears, which I've never heard, because that doesn't feel as like oh, I was have to
yes.
sit and hold this all day. Like that's not the same thing. It's just like that's not
Yeah.
a big muscle ask. Just more of
Yeah.
an intentional thought process and thinking about that. Which again, that's what I think is so great. That's why I love having these conversations so much because like sometimes people feel like it's so overwhelming. I'm not even going to think about it. I'm just going to have a curled back and call it a day because I couldn't ever
Yep.
possibly. And it's like, what if you just went like this? It was
Yeah,
a great place to
exactly.
start. Like,
Exactly.
sorry, I
That's what
know.
we do. They're simple. They're simple things. But yeah, it's amazing because people overdo it all the time. And I'm like, you're just compensating because that's what you think the main muscles are. And those it's much easier, much smaller. You just have to feel it correctly. And that's the trick.
Absolutely. So definitely go see your local provider as well as also finding the links in the show notes to be able to have that conversation. So I thank you again for this time. I've been looking forward to this for ages. And excited to share this with the listener darlings out there. And speaking of, thank you again for being back here with us on the Perinatal Podcast. And remember to be curious, not judgmental, and we will see you next time.